Okay, I'm sat here with Dr. Roy Jackson from the Religion, Philosophy and Ethics course here at Gloucestershire, and we've been talking about the ontological argument. Now, in the last time we talked, Roy, we talked about the definition that comes out of Anselm, and therefore the argument of God as that than which no greater can be conceived. How do people move from that definition, which on a half hearing sounds like quite a good definition of God, to this idea of God as a necessary being who must exist?
Yeah. Well, I think it's picking up particularly on the term greater or greater than, and what do we mean by greater here. I suppose it's a way of thinking about it is when you think of something, you conceive of something in your mind, whether you can accept the possibility that there could be something greater than that. So, for example, I can think of a £50 note in my mind, but presumably a real £50 note is greater for a number of reasons. One is you can use it and so on, it's much greater.
Yeah, I'm not accepting your imaginary money.
You couldn't do that. And I suppose the same with God. If you conceive of God in your mind as something greater than that, then surely it kind of logically follows that God actually existing would be greater than you merely conceiving of God in your mind.
So if we proceed from the idea that God is that of which no greater can be conceived, I could then think of a kind of God, but the idea that God in my mind and not existing in reality is lesser than God existing in my mind and in reality.
Sure.
So the two possibilities, just God existing mentally as a concept, or God existing as a concept and in reality, which is greater, the latter.
Yes.
Therefore God must be the latter, and therefore
That's it, yes.
Never sort that out.
Yes.
So it almost seems to be an argument that suggests when it's presented as an argument, although that might be the original one as we discussed, but when it is presented as an argument, it almost seems to suggest that it's contradictory not to believe in God.
Yes. I mean, again, it's a fascinating argument because in a sense it relies you just stop thinking about God. It doesn't rely upon looking out there for evidence or sort of empirical observation or synthetic statements. Or anything
so it would be to classify it philosophically as an a priori argument.
Analytic statement in a sense. God by necessity.
So it doesn't argue like the teleological design argument that God exists because of this evidence, and if the evidence was different, wouldn't exist, or the cosmological argument with this kind of metaphysical structure that. It doesn't say God does exist, it kind of suggests God must exist.
Yes. I mean, I can give you, because one response to this was Galileo, a contemporary of Anselm, who said, well, surely there's a fallacy in this argument because I can conceive of all sorts of things. I can conceive of a perfect island.
Yeah.
And of course, Anselm's readers haven't read my book, have you? It's like, well, if you look at it, it says, well, no, there's a problem with that because an island... It's by its nature is not necessary. It's not perfect.
It's a contingent
thing. As Plantinga said, it does not have an intrinsic maximum. You can always improve upon it.
Yeah. I
mean, he talked about dancing girls on an island, which is probably his idea of an island. But you always have more dancers.
There's more about him.
Yes, maybe it does. Whereas Anselm's saying, well, the thing about God is you can't improve upon God because as soon as you do that, that would be God. So you're caught in that little bit of a trap.
And so the ontological argument kind of recurs at various points in philosophical history. One of those, and you presented kind of a couple of arguments that support it or can defend it a little. What is kind of Bertrand Russell's real lack of patience with it? He finds it kind of infuriating that people tolerate this kind of reasoning.
Yes, I mean, he just simply refuses to accept the term. I mean, he's like, partly there's the problem with the whole nature of what is contingent and what is necessary, and whether you're prepared to accept there are such things as necessary beings in the first place. But also, why should God even be part of your vocabulary? I think that was sort of impatience with the whole idea.
I guess the idea that existing, is a kind of quality of things.
Yes.
Greater than implies great quality, power, and various things. Existing surely is a statement about a thing along with its qualities, not one of the qualities of the thing itself.
That's right, and that's what Kant, I think, was picking up on. He's sort of saying that, well, it's a predicate in a logical sense, but it doesn't actually tell you anything more about the thing in itself.
So something can have a list of properties. Like, the example they always let simply use a triangle. A boring example. But it has various properties. It has three sides and its internal angles out to 180 degrees and things. But that doesn't tell you whether there are any triangles. or whether there's any triangle shaped things in my bag or whatever. And so existence is a statement about a complete thing, about whether there are any gods or triangles or dancing girls.
Exactly.
Not about what the features of them are.
I think it's those keywords if and then. If triangles exist, then they must have three sides.
Yeah.
If God exists, then.
But if God exists, God must exist. Seems a little bit to some as a bit of intellectual chicanery or double bluff.
Yeah, fun. But yes,
well, that's your idea of fun.
Yes.
Okay.
Just
I think
yes.
your idea of fun, bit of stuff. Thank you.